Yo, so hear me out on this, right? So, Double or Nothing happens. We get the next, instant success for Double or Nothing. People like it. We see Jon Moxley. Crowd pops. Everyone's shocked that, Jon Moxley is on AEW. We didn't see this coming. Some people did, and some people did not. So, we look forward to the next Monday Night Raw on the following Monday to see where this Raw takes us. Are they going to have a solid response? Are they going to take shots? Are they going to come up with a better product for which we've been dying for the past 15 years? Are they going to come up with a good product in response of Double or Nothing? What do we get? We don't get shit. We get easily one of the worst episodes of Raw. Extremely terrible, and nothing phases Vince Kennedy McMahon on, that, hey, maybe I should fix my product. Maybe I should do something about an upcoming competition. Maybe this is a sign that I do have competition, that people are not happy with what I'm doing here and my shitty creative process. Nothing happens. The only thing that happens, which is, I guess, Vince McMahon thinks he's slick, but really he's an idiot, is, the Sami Zayn thing, where, he's like, well, what are you going to do? You could have mentioned AEW. Like, oh, crowd pops, oh. The show, the past week of Raw was so shitty that people kept chanting AEW chants, AEW chants, this is awful, and this is boring, to Shane McMahon. Versus, I think, what was it, Roman Reigns, or, people are done with the product. Majority of people don't like the product. Casual fans, obviously, they go. But majority of the wrestling fans don't like wrestling. So on Wednesday, we get the Jon Moxley interview with Talk is Jericho. And that was a shocking one that it came, I think, so soon, in my opinion, because Double or Nothing was done. I would expect something maybe 6 months down the line or something, but shout outs to Chris Jericho for doing this so early. I was at work, I listen to different podcasts and stuff, so on my YouTube feed I saw that, hey, Jon Moxley, Chris Talk is Jericho, what? It was about 2 hours long. Instantly put that thing on and start educating myself on what made a top star who's getting paid very, very well leave the company, right? So I listened to the Jon Moxley interview. He sounded like he was very, very relieved. It's like a burden was finally off of his shoulders, and he's so happy to be out of that. So, the whole promo that he shot was really based on an analogy that was playing in his head that, hey, you know what? I'm trapped in a goddamn prison cell, and I'm finally freaking out of here. And, I am free. And, when in the Double or Nothing, when he was like, it's just like a breath of fresh air, man. Now I see all of that stuff is in context now. So he's feeling great now. He mentions in his interview that one of the things that he used to love about wrestling was cutting promos and coming up with them, because he's a creative dude, knows where he wants to sway his character, and he's like, and then in the WWE, that became some of my worst experiences. That became my least favorite part, was to cut promos, because all the promos, most of them were written by shitty writers or Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon is such a shitty, like, like, he illustrated Vince McMahon's demeanor in a very, like, a descriptive way that we haven't heard before, where he talks about how Vince McMahon is super delusional with his ideas. And, obviously we all know that Vince McMahon thinks he's a genius, and he thinks that his ideas are, like, obviously top notch, the best ideas, and nobody could come up with better. He's very overconfident, and arrogant at the same time. So every time he, always for the past, so he was working there for almost 8 years, right? And for the past 6 years out of the 8, Dean Ambrose was, started to get, like, more and more tired of the company because of the content they were giving him. The scripts, the everything, the type of storylines. Like, nobody really took Dean Ambrose as serious. Like, I'll talk about myself. Like, I was never excited for his storylines because it just seemed like, okay, he's the lunatic fringe. He's going to do something stupid and, blah, blah, blah. Nothing very crazy, but, it's the same shit. And exactly that's what, Jon Moxley kind of states in his interview, that, hey, I was given shitty scripts to read for my promos, and I had to take personal shots at Roman Reigns that Vince McMahon wrote, like, almost 2 to 3 times, and I just wasn't, like, I did it once because Vince McMahon has a way of talking to people where he kind of, goes around the bush and kind of, changes his words a bit and kind of convinces you that, hey, it doesn't sound that bad, right? So he convinced Dean Ambrose to really, hey, Roman has leukemia, you're going to get heat for it. This shit is good. Like, and then he, and then 2 or 3 more times, Vince kind of tried to sway in again, but then, Jon Moxley wasn't, Dean Ambrose wasn't budging for it. He was like, yo, I'm not going to do it. And then, he was just talking about his shitty storylines and having to go to Vince's office almost every Monday night after he gets the script from the writer. And, he was like, it was just dying. I was just doing it for a paycheck. And he's like, well, first his goal was to save money, and obviously everyone has financial goals, and he was like, I'm making good money, so his house is paid off, he has a truck, it's paid off, his mom's house is paid off, so he's like, look, dog, like, I don't need like $1 million gazillion dollars, because he's like, I don't live that way. I'm not gonna buy a Maserati, or I'm not gonna buy a Porsche, Ferrari or something, and I'm not a spendthrift like that. He lives smart. He lives like a normal human being, even though he's a celebrity at this point. But, like, he has goals just like us, and he rather be happy than to get paid way more than, obviously these things don't matter. His priorities are set, and now he's free to do anything he wants, right? So, and then he was just like, yo, he didn't tell anyone. He told, Seth and Reigns towards the end too, because he just kept it. He didn't want to do bad business, because he knows that, once you're on the radar of WWE while you're signed to them, that, you're about to sham them and get out of here and all of this and that. And, you have a bad reputation with them. They'll they'll extend your contract, do some legal shit, and, just keep you under the contract or break it. So he played it smart, because Dean Ambrose played it cool. He went with everything. He did what Vince told him to do till the end, this and that. And the contractual obligations, he's still going to get his royalties, this and that. Like, what blows my mind is that after Vince found out and Hunter found out that, this dude's leaving, they did their efforts to bury him. Which they do, which is not a surprise, but, like, even Jon Moxley was talking about his last, Shield reunited house show or something, whatever special that was. he only got paid $500 for that match. Can you believe that shit? Like, you know, that was definitely like a FU to, you know, Dean, that, hey, you're leaving the company, this is all you get. Like, you know, it's just like shitty. It's shitty shit, you know, shitty shit that, you know, shouldn't be happening. But hey, you know, it's just Vince McMahon, man. It's just, you know, this reminded me of the whole CM Punk podcast, but, you know, obviously a little simmered down and all of that stuff. And, you know, after Dean Ambrose's, Jon Moxley's interview, like Talk is Jericho podcast came out, even EC3 tweeted out that, hey, thank you, my friend, and the feeling is mutual. Because we see how EC3 used to be treated in Impact, and how EC3 is getting treated on Raw. You know, it's a clear-cut difference. They just, I don't know what they're doing, and then their creative process sucks at this point, man. Like, I'm sorry, but Vince McMahon, like, this is, I think, you know, we've been saying it for almost 10 years that Vince McMahon should, you know, kind of step aside and, you know, leave it to Hunter or somebody else to do this work now. But I think we are at a peak right now of that sentiment, where almost the majority of a lot of people, the fans, their employees, think that, I think it's time for Vince to step aside, man, and because he's so out of touch. Vince is so out of touch at this point that, and I don't know, man, he's so delusional that he just, you know, he doesn't even see what he's doing. You know, like at the end when Jon Moxley kind of goes over that, you know, when they, you know, him and Vince have this conversation about when Vince finds out that he's leaving. He's like, oh, you know, it's probably because of the surgery gimmick or whatever. You know, you should have told me. I didn't even know about it. And, you know, throughout Jon Moxley's podcast, Jon Moxley tells us the exact instances where he went to Vince's office and told him that, hey, you know, I'm not digging this. Like, I want to change up my character, this and that, make a bomb return, all of that stuff. But, you know, it was just like, he's so delusional. He's like, Vince, like, you know why you knew this. I came to your office every week complaining about this gimmick, and you're acting like you never knew. You know, Vince is sick, man. Vince, you know, he compares Tony Khan as the complete opposite of Vince McMahon, that Tony Khan is actually a wrestling fan, while Vince McMahon is a sports entertainer. He just cares about the image, this and that, sponsors. Like, you know, Vince, man, I wouldn't be able to stand a boss like Vince, man. Vince is terrible, man. Vince McMahon is done, bro. I think we're reaching to a boiling point, and then this podcast definitely says a lot that Vince McMahon, his time is coming up, man. Look, you know, from history and everything else, we all know that, you know, what goes up must come down. And I think that Vince McMahon, as big as WWE is now, eventually I feel that Vince McMahon is, you know, this is where WWE is going to start declining, man. I honestly think about that. Like, so much negative press, so many people against Vince McMahon. You know, it's reached to the point where it's a problem, man. It's a big problem. And AEW is coming at the right time, where all these talents are done with it. Wrestling fans are done with the WWE product. And this is the leverage that AEW is going to have. You know, this is where AEW can make their mark, just like they did in, you know, Double or Nothing. And, Obviously they have so many things to work on, but obviously, if they keep their product original and what the fans want, giving the superstars a free hand with the storylines and promos and this and that, they'll be on the right track, man. It's just viewership that they have to kind of, get now since it's a new company, which I think would be definitely a challenge for them. But eventually I feel that, obviously pro wrestling fans are going to be watching this. But, it just kind of goes to show that Vince McMahon is, dude, this guy has reached a different level of pettiness. Vince McMahon is done, man. He is done. You're getting all these signs. They're taking away AEW signs, this and that, which I get. Okay, cool. But why do the fans feel the need to even do that in the first place? The Raw was so shitty after Double or Nothing. It's like you feel hopeless because you're like, man, I think they do want to decline at this point, because if they're still, stuck in their ego and Vince McMahon still thinks he's a genius in this time and era, you gotta be, shitting me, man. Like, I think Vince might be, because Vince was pissed. So the background story on that is that when Vince found out that that Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, basically played Vince the whole time that, hey, I'm leaving, I want to do a Hollywood movie, this and that. Never told him that he's going to go to a wrestling promotion, so they gave him a big send-off, with all of this press, this and that. But, with Vince, the word is that when Vince found out that he showed up at Double or Nothing at the end with a huge pop and this and that, he was fuming. And I kind of feel sorry for Renee at this point, because I don't know how long her contract with the WWE is, but that shit's going to be hard, man. That's going to be so hard to, they should have done it like Cody and Brandy, where they both kind of left around the same time without, doing anything big, or how CM Punk and AJ Lee left around the same time. So, it's just one of those things where it's like Renee's tenure at WWE is going to be hard from now on, because especially after the podcast where he kind of buries Vince in the company. Oh shit, dude. Because Renee, obviously they're going to see Renee as the enemy at this point. And, I'm pretty sure we'll just see her demoted from now on, from the management. And, it's a crazy time to be a pro wrestling fan, man. It's definitely a crazy time to be a pro wrestling fan. I can't say it enough. I cannot say it enough. Let's see where this goes, man. I think the bigger challenge would be around their TV deal. And when AEW actually goes into, producing weekly shows, that's when I think the pressure is definitely going to rise for the McMahons. When they have to actually compete with a product every week. And when AEW actually has to produce a product every week, that's going to be hard for AEW, to obviously, since it's their first go to produce. And at the same time, for WWE, it's going to be a high pressure, it's going to put pressure on the WWE that, hey, you know what, we have a better product, Tuesday nights on TNT. So I'm going to go watch that instead of Raw. So there's that. So let's see, man. Let's see. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Jon Moxley interview. What do you think is going to happen? What's your predictions? Do you think Vince McMahon's going to change? Do you think he's going to start stepping it up a little bit? Let me know. And make sure you guys subscribe, man. Definitely need subscribers to grow this channel, grow the community. And yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, guys. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Take care. I'm out.